Okay, guys, I got a serious update for you. You heard me talk about SEMA and the product roadmap radar. I just caught up with Matt, who's the founder there, and he gave me the latest on what they are building. And my mind is blown. The team at SEMA are taking things to the next level. Built around the core of the product roadmap radar, i.e. code and JIRA analysis, they are building agent orchestration across the product lifecycle. Picture this. You hook up this system same as before, i.e. integrate your repository and your backlog, JIRA today. From that point, SEMA's agent analyzes the codebase and makes suggestions as to what needs to be done next and what could improve, optimize the product. Then, if those tasks are routine, the agent assigns the task to a coding agent, think something like Devin, to complete the minutia, while assigning the human-in-the-loop task to engineers themselves. What you end up with is engineers focusing on building core competency features while AI handles all the rest. If you're not salivating right now, I don't think you fully understand what this means. But here's what I would suggest. Right now, their product is in a closed beta, and SEMA is looking for folks to sign up for their Product Intelligence Advisory Board. This gives you the opportunity to use the product, give feedback, help shape the future of what's built. Oh, and not to mention additional free usage of the product potentially through the end of 2026. So, if that fits your workflow and toolset, you need to reach out today. Go to codestory.co/nextlevel, NEXTLEVEL, and reach out to Matt at SEMA to learn more and join the Product Intelligence Advisory Board. Again, that's codestory.co/nextlevel. This episode is sponsored by Postman. Postman is the world's leading API platform, trusted by 98% of the Fortune 500 and over 40 million developers. Tap into APIs from 18,000 plus companies to power agents that make smarter decisions. Learn more at postman.com/podcast/codestory. This message is sponsored by Melee Search. Today, search isn't just a feature, it's a cornerstone. And Melee Search gives your users the experience they need with lightning-fast performance, full-text search, AI usage, and multimodal capabilities. Melee Search delivers relevant results in less than the blink of an eye. Use the promo code CODESTORY at checkout to get 2 months free at meleesearch.com. That's MEILI search.com.
As always, it starts with an idea, right? And you have a small team of really dedicated people who brainstorm around the idea and trying to figure out how can we add value on top of the LLMs of basically anything we do, and how can we at the same time also reuse or capitalize on all the investments we have done, because we did some really hairy ML solution, I would say, in the orchestration platform, and how can we lift them over or use them into the new one. In the beginning, I think it's a lot of brainstorming on how to do that. You want to dig into the coding, dig into the GUI, the front end stuff, and then try to figure out who is the ICP, who will use this, how will they use it. My name is Theo Bergqvist, and I'm the founder and CEO of Turbotic.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do next.
Took many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their back.
A company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve more.
Most proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was a
Yes, we've been fighting it as we grow.
Total waste of time. The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took
you.
it off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really want it.
It's not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story.
I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today, how Theo Bergqvist is transforming how your business functions by enabling automation through AI and Vibe automation. This episode is brought to you by Paddle. Don't settle for less when you can have more MOR with Paddle, your merchant of record. Eliminate the headaches of payments, grow your revenue everywhere, and focus on what you do best, building your product. Get more revenue with less hassle at paddle.com. This episode is brought to you by Propel. People take authentication for granted, but it's more than how customers log into your product. It's how you manage your relationship with your users. The easiest way to make authentication your advantage is to use Propel Auth. PropelAuth is more than just functional. It's powerful. With tools like Managed UIs, Enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights, PropelAuth adapts as your product grows. And the best part? When auth is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Save dev time, win over your customers, and propel your business forward with PropelAuth. Check them out at propelauth.com. That's PROPELAUTH.com. Theo Bergqvist is an entrepreneur who enjoys working a lot. He started his first venture in 1999 in the gaming industry, building Paradox, which is now listed on Nasdaq. Of all his ventures, the common core has been technology. But outside of tech, he lives a life dedicated to Japanese martial arts. He practices 5 to 6 times a week and has made several trips to Japan with his sensei, focusing on the art 10 hours a day. At one point during his career, Theo was working for Ericson around their transformation. He noticed how difficult it was for enterprises to adopt AI tooling and automation. He decided to raise some funds and get started trying to create something to help, and started the build and pivot game. This is the creation story of Turbotic.
So let's start from the beginning. I was actually, believe it or not, but I was actually working for Ericson a short time during my entrepreneurship. And Ericson, who doesn't know, is a big telco provider. And I was there because the CEO there asked me if I could come join and help them with transformation. So I did that for a couple of years. And then I saw a really big problem or challenge for many companies investing in automation and AI. And that was to scale the IT operational part. So then I raised some capital and started to build Turbotic actually as an orchestration platform, you could say, for enterprises with pretty big installments of RPA, automation, various automation, IDP, AI kind of solutions. But since then, and that's 5 years ago, and since then we have actually pivoted a lot. So we did a big pivot, I think, 1.5 years from now. And then we pivoted into more generative AI, LLMs, and trying to figure out how we can assist companies to actually explore the potential or discovery of the potential of how to automate processes. And that was more of a lightweight product, I would say, targeting mid-size companies, so not the enterprise. So we did 2 pivots there. One was pivoting away from enterprise, and one was pivoting away from orchestration. And then for the past 6 months, we've been working on an upgrade on that product, which we actually released this week in San Francisco and at this AI conference that we are sponsoring. And that is actually moving more into the core of automation, where we have worked extremely hard to crack the challenges to be able to automate anything with just a prompt. So think of it more like Bolt or Lovable or anything else, but for automation. So you don't have to be an engineer, you don't have to know a lot of coding, you don't have to know a lot of engineering stuff to make your own automations. And that product, I think, is the one that we will, going forward, place our bet on. So basically, the journey we've done, we have used all the experience to this point to build this product. That's what we do.
So tell me about the MVP for maybe the current version that you're going to bet on for Turbotic. How long did it take to build, and what sort of tools are you using to bring it to life? And I suspect it'll weave in the pivot process that you've gone through, but I'm curious what story you have there.
As always, it starts with an idea, right? And you have a small team of really dedicated people who brainstorm around the idea and trying to figure out how can we add value on top of the LLMs, or how can we add value on top of basically anything we do, and how can we at the same time also reuse or capitalize on all the investments we have done, because we did some really hairy AI ML solution, I would say, in the orchestration platform, and how can we lift them over or use them into the new one. So in the beginning, I think it's a lot of thought processing or brainstorming on how to do that. But once you do that, you want to dig into the coding, dig into the GUI, the front end stuff, and then try to figure out who is the ICP, who will use this, how will they use it. It's a lot of, I would say, micro tracks that you need to solve at the same time, We've been using Cursor a lot for kind of building the code, but we also have a really skilled kind of innovation coders, as I call it, people who can spin up products, who can spin up MVPs, demos, what have you. And we also use Lovable to start building the prototype for the GUI and the front end. So it's a mix, I think.
Let's stay on that for just a moment. I'm curious about a decision or trade-off you had to make that really was core to how you built this version of Turbotic. Something around maybe tech debt or approach or limitation of scope or anything like that, and how you coped with that decision.
In the beginning, I always want to go broad. I want to cover as much as possible to get it on the wall to see what's sticky. But this time, actually, we had a completely different approach. And we said, let's just make 2-3 features and make them work really well and focus a lot on usability on those 3. So that was, this time around, that was exactly what we did. So we focused more on who should use this and how will they use it, and trying to figure out 2-3 core features and make them work. So to give you an example, if you say we want anyone to automate anything, you could go really hairy about that and say, okay, anyone should be able to then automate a really complicated supply chain workflow or what have you. But instead we said, no, maybe the ICP here is maybe a lightweight user who just want to, maybe a user of Zapier or maybe a user of Boomi or something else, but don't know coding and don't know API. So how can we help them? So we started really to make the most simple automations and crack them. And that's where we are now. And that is what we also will demo. Under the hood, we can do more. But that is a trade-off we decided to do for this product.
Okay, guys, I got a serious update for you. You heard me talk about SEMA and the product roadmap radar. I just caught up with Matt, who's the founder there, and he gave me the latest on what they are building. And my mind is blown. The team at SEMA are taking things to the next level. Built around the core of the product roadmap radar, i.e. code and Jira analysis, they are building agent orchestration across the product lifecycle. Picture this. You hook up this system same as before, i.e. integrate your repository and your backlog, Jira today. From that point, SEMA's agent analyzes the codebase and makes suggestions as to what needs to be done next and what could improve, optimize the product. Then, if those tasks are routine, the agent assigns the task to a coding agent, think something like Devin, to complete the minutia, while assigning the human-in-the-loop task to engineers themselves. What you end up with is engineers focusing on building core competency features, while AI handles all the rest. If you're not salivating right now, I don't think you fully understand what this means. But here's what I would suggest. Right now, their product is in a closed beta, and SEMA is looking for folks to sign up for their Product Intelligence Advisory Board. This gives you the opportunity to use the product, give feedback, help shape the future of what's built. Oh, and not to mention additional free usage of the product, potentially through the end of 2026. So, if that fits your workflow and toolset, you need to reach out today. Go to codestory.co/nextlevel, NEXTLEVEL, and reach out to Matt at SEMA to learn more and join the Product Intelligence Advisory Board. Again, that's codestory.co/nextlevel. This episode is brought to you by Paddle. As a startup, you face unique challenges to stay competitive. You and your team need to stay focused on your product, not your payments. You need to do more, MOR, and DIY less. With Paddle. Paddle is your merchant of record, becoming the seller of record for your SaaS transactions, enabling your team to focus on what's important, your product. Paddle handles all payment management across multiple gateways and methods, taking ownership of tax liability while remaining compliant with regulations across all markets. The platform handles all aspects of SaaS billing models, upgrades, add-on, trials, and more. Let's look at the results. MOR revenue optimization is built into Paddle and accounts for up to 16% higher conversion rates, reduced payment failures, localized pricing, and churn prevention, recovering 40% of cancellations. Their developer-friendly tools are API first with comprehensive documentation, removing the burden from your engineers. With Paddle as your merchant of record, you'll generate more revenue, find and keep more customers, grow faster, and stay compliant everywhere. So what are you waiting for? Get more revenue with less hassle at paddle.com. This episode is sponsored by Fullscale. Let me guess, your team's shipping sprint velocity looks good, but you're still asking yourself, is anyone actually thinking about the why? Matt Watson's been there. He's the founder behind Vin Solutions and Stackify, and now runs Fullscale with a 300-plus person dev team. And after 2 decades in the trenches, he's seen the same pattern over and over. Smart developers stuck in systems that reward ticket-taking instead of real thinking. That's why he wrote Product Driven, a playbook for tech leaders who are done babysitting developers and ready to build teams that own the outcome. If you're tired of translating every feature, doing all the thinking, or wondering why your smart team is still stuck, this is the fix. Go to productdriven.com/codestory to grab the book and get the bonus toolkit to help your team shift from output to outcomes, like 12 bold ways to get your retros out of robot mode. Again, that's productdriven.com/codestory. So you're at this point, you've got this, Turbotic where you want it to be. You're ready to share it with the world. How are you going to mature and progress the product and the platform there? I'm curious about how you go about building your roadmap, how you decide that, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to address with Turbotic.
You have to consider 2 things. One is the idea as an entrepreneur to execute on things that you believe will be the future, looking at the third horizon. And at the same time, go to the market and ask them, what do you want? What are you looking for? And follow very narrow other similar companies in maybe other, like Lovable or like Legora or anyone else. What are they doing? How are they placing their bets? So it's a trade-off there, I think. Sometimes I can feel I should probably have asked the market more on how, what they want and what they need. At the same time, I'm always very skeptic about that because I think that they don't know. They don't know what they will want in the future. But that is, I think it's a mix of listening, having a good network of people, having some really good subject matter experts who know in our case, no RPA, no automation, no AI transformation. Talk with them and see how they want to use this. And at the same time, really dig into the research on the LLMs or LangChain or any technology, basically, to understand what is coming next. Because I think it's also very, especially now, and this is no news for no one, but when things are moving so fast, you have to be ahead of the curve. Because otherwise you build something that will be obsolete in 6 months.
When you're building something like this and you've got a track record of entrepreneurship, obviously, I'm sure you've built a lot of teams. Specifically, how did you go about building your team for Turbotic? And what did you look for in those people to indicate that they were the winning horses to join you?
Building teams it's a tough thing. As a Swede, we are not used to, as you guys, especially here in Silicon Valley, which I think they are super good at, is pivoting. And I've been mentioning we're pivoting the product, but also the team. So the team I have now is not the team I started with 5 years ago. But some of the people are still in the core. And those are the rare gems that you need to find. But I've been fortunate enough to building companies and products for quite a long time. So my network is pretty extensive, and I have a few people who have been together with me on this journey. But then you need to find new people, and you need to try them, you need to test them, you need to put them to the test. So I wouldn't lie if I'd say that I think we have pivoted almost 85% of the full team 3 times during this 4.5 years. And it's not an easy thing to do. And as I said, especially as a Swede, we are not used to that. I have come to the conclusion that's the only way to be successful. You have to pivot the team, make sure you have all the right competence. And if you don't, you have to cut them loose and find other people who are good at different things.
This episode is brought to you by Propel. People take authentication for granted, but it's more than how customers log into your product. It's how you manage your relationship with your users. The easiest way to make authentication your advantage is to use Propel Auth. Propel Auth is more than just functional. It's powerful. With tools like Managed UIs, Enterprise SSO, robust user management features, and actionable insights, Propel Auth adapts as your product grows. And the best part? When auth is effortless, your team can focus on scaling, not troubleshooting. That means more releases, happier customers, and more growth for your business. Save dev time, win over your customers, and propel your business forward with Propelauth. Check them out at propelauth.com. That's PROPELAUTH.com. This episode is sponsored by MailySearch. In today's digital landscape, search isn't just a feature, it's a cornerstone, and you need a user experience that drives customer satisfaction. You need MailySearch. MailySearch has lightning-fast performance, returning answers in less than 50 milliseconds. Yeah, you heard that right. Faster than the blink of an eye. The open-source AI search engine is plug-and-play, so you can get up and running in minutes with smart presets, allowing you to start searching through your data with zero configuration. MailySearch utilizes advanced full-text search and AI, ensuring your results are ultra-relevant with semantic depth. It's multimodal, supporting images, videos, and audio, along with being federated, i.e. searching across multiple data sources. And it's developer-friendly. Whether you're building a content-rich website or enterprise application, MailySearch delivers the experience your users expect and deserve. For a limited time, CodeStory users can get 2 months free. Use the promo code CODESTORY, all one word, at checkout. Just go to MailySearch.com and get started today. That's MEILI search.com. I'm curious about scalability. How have you factored scale from a technology standpoint, maybe a people standpoint too, from the beginning of building Turbotic? And has there been interesting areas where you've had to fight it as you've grown?
When we started, the only thing we were discussing was scaling. We need to have this and that, and we need to scale, and it should be security and compliance and SOX and enterprise ready, you name it. As we have progressed during these years, I think that scaling for me, I'm not worried about scaling. I'm more worried about getting the product market fit, to be honest. So for me, that is what I want to, that's the kind of the thing I want to feel. And then when I have that, then we can scale. And that goes for team, that goes for marketing, that goes for sales, that goes for the technology itself. We started way back with a Neo4j graph, for example, which we never used. And we paid a lot of money for that. We paid a lot of money for HubSpot, which we never used as well. So I think to some extent, you should shoestring things, especially when it comes to technology, and not bother too much about scalability. At the same time, we've been fortunate enough to get a lot of support from Microsoft and the startup program there, and they invested a lot in us. So from that perspective, you could say the whole cloud, everything, sure, we are pretty scalable. So we can scale up pretty quick. But when it comes to the application itself, I think if I would give anyone advice, I would say look for the product market fit first. And if that means that you have to rebuild your whole application because it's not scalable, that's what I would do.
So, as you step out on the balcony and you look across all that you've built with Turbotic specifically, what are you most proud of?
I think I am most proud of that we have not been afraid to pivot and always staying ahead of the curve. When we released Orchestrate, the first orchestration platform, everyone was telling me, orchestration, no one wants that, no one needs that, it's not a product at the market. And now, 5 years later, everyone is talking orchestration. When we released the first Gen AI assistant, everyone was saying, no, it's not, people will not work that way, and blah, blah, blah. And then just a few weeks back, Wall Street Journal, whoever it was, wrote a big piece about McKinsey's kind of dying because of all the AI tools. And now everyone is telling me, how can you Vibe automate? It still needs a lot of work. And I'm very confident that this will break the market. We will put a stake in the ground and create something new. And that, I think, that pivoting and also releasing things ahead of the curve, that I think I'm most proud of.
Okay, let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
One really big one that impacted us for quite a long time had nothing to do with technology or the product itself, but that was actually, we invested quite heavily in go-to-market, sales and marketing machine before we even had a product. And we spent a lot of funds on hiring sales reps and setting up marketing activities and events and sponsors and everything, basically before we had anything good to sell. And that was a big mistake, I think, that we made. And also we tried to set up, 2 times we've tried to set up an operation in the US from Sweden. That failed both times, which made me a bit hesitant to do that. But again, I think I need to spend more time here, to be honest, as a founder. to build this market. But both those two decisions had a major impact on, or we burned a lot of fuel, I would say. We burned a lot of fuel, and we also burned a lot of time for that.
Okay, Theo, let's look forward then. This will be fun. I'm curious what the future looks like for Turbotic, for, the product, the platform, and for your team.
If you, again, as you said, if you look from the balcony, we have 3 products. We have the orchestration, we have the assistant, and now we have the Vibe automation tool. So the future is that we actually merge all this into one really powerful, and we capitalize on all the investments that we have done. And then we roll this out to the market and obviously grow with that. I think timing is really good. There's a lot of good examples of, as I said, similar setup companies that are growing exponentially. When it comes to the team, I think since start, we've had a fairly big team in India. Unfortunately, that's not a market for us in that sense. But I think from a team perspective, we will continue to grow in India with that team because the competence in India doing these kind of things is extremely high. I've been working with engineers all over the world, and I've never seen any company delivering or providing such good skills and talents that they have there. And then obviously, again, is to take a stab on the US market, because that, just face it, that's where we really need to break it, and we really need to cut through all the buzz, everything, make it really clear on what we can deliver.
Theo, let's switch to you. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to, and why.
There are so many good entrepreneurs out there, which I really admire. Johnny Lake, for example, was a Spotify founder. Always been very impressed with him. I've met him a lot of times, and very smart guy. Richard Branson was actually the first influencer, whatever you want to call it, the first entrepreneur that I really looked up to. And because I think his journey was very similar to mine, coming from basically nothing and building companies and doing good stuff, and just by not compromising on the ideas, on the execution on that. So he's a really, I still follow him on LinkedIn, and I still cheer and support everything he does. Astro Teller, the Google X guy, or actually the whole team over there. I'm super impressed with the whole Google X setup on how to scale how to set a moonshot idea and try to execute that and scale that. So those are the ones I think on top of my head.
Last question. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world and can't wait to show it off to you right there on a plane. What advice do you give this person, having gone down this road a bit?
To be honest, I would probably spend more time trying to figuring out what he's doing and trying to understand how I can benefit from that somehow. But if you would ask me for an advice, I would say, don't be afraid of pivoting, because that is really, for me, it's been key. If you don't pivot, you die, basically. And the second thing would be, and pivoting, by the way, can be everything from pivoting the marketing idea, the team, the product. It's a lot of things that you can pivot on. And you don't have to pivot everything all the time or at once. But I think pivoting mindset is really important. And the second thing would be the team. Try to build, you don't have to have a big team, but you really have to have a core team with people extremely skilled on what they do. And they have to be passionate, and they have to be really into the dirt of the same way you, as an entrepreneur, the same way you think about things, that you have to find a core team in marketing, in tech, in sales, that can do this together with you, because otherwise it's a tough one to do everything on your own. And the third thing also ties into the team, but also investors and the ecosystem, the network you build around you, is to always surround you with people who are loyal and reward loyalty, because that's a rare thing today, this loyalty thing, and stick to it together and try to solve things together. And the people who do that, they should be rewarded, I think. Those are probably the 3 things I would, but I could probably talk for the full flight as well, so.
I think that's fantastic advice. Well, Theo, thank you for being on the show today, and thank you for telling the creation story of Turbotic.
Thank you so much.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story.
Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice.
And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.